If you've ever wanted to go full-time on your business, you've probably been told to wait until the business can replace your salary. In fact, that's why I spent 4 years building my own business on top of my career as a lawyer for successful entrepreneurs before quitting to go all in at 31 years old. But the month I quit, I made an astonishing $300 in the business. Everyone thought I was crazy, but they didn't know what I'd been learning during the years leading up to this. And by quitting, I realized that waiting to replace my salary was the wrong target. So in this video, I will walk you through my 4 stages of going from employee to full-time business owner, what I did right, my biggest mistakes, and what I would do differently if I was starting out today. Stage 1 is when I completely changed how I look at money. This was 8 years ago during the first 2 years of my career as a lawyer. And it started with a Chanel bag, which may come as a surprise, but it will make sense soon. The bag was a graduation gift to myself for surviving law school. I'd been eyeing it for years before getting it for 3,800 British pounds. But what I didn't understand then was that I wasn't just buying a bag. I bought myself a valuable lesson that I carry with me even today. Because 2 days later, the initial burst of joy from buying that bag was gone. And when I counted the hours, months, and years that I would have to trade to keep buying things like that, it felt like a rabbit hole that I didn't want to fall into. I was already tired of spending 5 days a week in an office and didn't like the idea of doing that until 65. And if you are in those early stages of your career and find that your spending habits are starting to eat your paycheck, pay attention to what your purchases give you and whether trading your time for that feels worth it. And if not, you are better off saving and investing instead until you have found a purpose worth spending on. The next thing I did was chasing passive income. So I learned about FIRE and got more strategic with my own investing. But FIRE still meant spending my healthiest years in a lifestyle that I didn't want. And the people who made that obvious were the people that I worked for. I had positioned myself to work closely with successful founders, helping them structure their businesses, taxes, and finances in line with their long-term goals. Most of them had started from zero, and the biggest insight they gave me was that you don't have to trade the life you want for a paycheck. If used strategically, money can buy you ownership of everything downstream, such as what you do, who you help, and where you live. And it all starts with taking ownership of how you make money and how you spend your time. My plan changed from FIRE to starting a business that could support my goals. I wanted to build a day-to-day life that I wouldn't want to retire from, which meant living in a warm country, working on my own terms, and being able to travel without asking for permission first. And over the years, I have had so many business ideas. Back in 2016, I filmed my first YouTube video in the makeup niche, but never posted it. In 2018, I researched factories to build a watch brand like Daniel Wellington. And I was also inspired by beautiful umbrellas abroad and wanted to bring the same thing to Sweden, because most of our umbrellas are black and boring. I mixed my own room sprays thinking I could turn that into a business one day, and I wanted to open my own cookie shop too. But I never started anything, and not prioritizing this became my biggest mistake in stage 1. But as I was tracking all of these businesses, I realized that they were all creating content. And content seemed to be low cost, low friction, and low commitment. And I already enjoyed taking photos, so if I could commit to that, then I could figure out the rest later. So if you have ever found yourself jumping between ideas but doing nothing, figure out what your ideas have in common and learn more about that instead. These days, you can also use AI tools like Claude to backtrack what your ideas have in common and start there. And if you have 0 ideas, on the other hand, you can have the AI interview you about your skills and interests to gather ideas that you can research further as well. But the next thing that I did was to start a travel blog and Instagram named Foodie on Vacay, because travel and food were my own biggest hobbies, and I saw people at least claiming to make a living through posting these things online. So I spent $75 on a Bluehost domain to start a blog. I spent many weekends trying to design it from scratch before buying a template for $34. By Black Friday 2019, I'd also bought myself a DSLR camera for $1,500. And that is also the camera I'm using to film this video. By the end of stage 1, I had a new goal, which was building a day-to-day life that I enjoyed instead of dreaming of retirement in my 20s. I had also invested $1,600 in the business, but I had nothing to show for it. And on the personal side, I had about $12,000 invested, which was about 6 months of my living expenses. For stage 2, we're starting in 2020. When COVID rules lifted, I went on a self-funded content trip to the Amalfi Coast to build my portfolio. When I got back, I wrote a ton of blog posts, marketed them with Pinterest, and one of my reviews ended up ranking 3rd on Google with over 50,000 views. This was my first taste of proof that anything I did was working. But I also made the mistake of thinking that I needed to be everywhere all at once. So before I go further into that, I just want to say that if you have ever found yourself debating what platform to use or think that you need to keep up with all of them, don't. It is much better to start with one, figure out if you like the workflow enough to stick with it, and make the decision from there. Don't do multiple platforms until you're sustainably earning and can afford a team to help you expand properly. But that is not what I did. So on top of my blog and Pinterest, I committed to Instagram. And to get ahead there, I invested $797 in a course. And just like with the Chanel bag, that investment gave me something I didn't expect. This time it was accountability. To justify the cost, I wanted to get real value out of this. And I was also curious if I could make that $800 back by applying what I was learning. That is how I got extremely consistent for the next 4 years. I created content during evenings and weekends and posted 5 to 6 times a week. 4 months from starting, I got my first 1,000 followers. When short-form video became a thing, I repurposed everything, which gave me 4,000 followers on TikTok and my first 1,000 subscribers on my first YouTube channel. My platforms kept growing, but didn't translate into money until a year and a half later. Since I wasn't traveling enough to sustain the almost everyday posting schedule that Instagram recommends, I started posting more local content from Stockholm, which is where I'm from. And it started doing really well, which would end up becoming one of my biggest problems, which I will get back to in stage 3. In 2022, I did my first paid collaboration. This was a freelance gig with Visit Stockholm. They wanted content from 10 different spots in the city and offered $1,500 for about 4 days worth of work. Using what I'd been taught in the course I bought, I negotiated that up to $2,500. And the crazy thing was, at this point, I only had 2,200 followers on Instagram. So if you're thinking that you need to grow a big following to make money, that is not true. I made half a salary with 4 days of work. By the end of stage 2, I had created over 1,000 Instagram posts, 400 YouTube shorts, and somewhere in between on TikTok. I had also invested $2,000 in the business and made around $2,800 back. I had 8,000 followers on Instagram, 1,000 YouTube subscribers, 4,000 on TikTok, and I had done my first paid collaborations. And on the personal side, I had around $50,000 saved and invested, which was about 2 years of my own living expenses at the time. Stage 3 was about pivoting the business I had to the business I wanted. So I started with doing outreach by going straight to potential clients with a media kit that I had built through Canva using a template from the $800 course I'd bought. But as time went by, I couldn't see myself owning a business that relied on constant pitching, so I focused the little time I had on growing my audience instead. But I also hadn't solved my problem with growing a local audience instead of a global one. And by applying the wrong advice at the wrong time, which was just keep doing what already works, I kept building myself a bigger problem instead. What I should have done would take me 2 more years to figure out. So if you're stuck in a similar situation, I recommend saving the time and get someone who's further ahead to help you figure out how to do it successfully, or who's willing to tell you straight up that it's not going to work the way you think. And if you feel overinformed by people online with no idea of what advice to apply when, I totally get that, and I'm happy to chat and help you navigate that side as well. You'll find the link in the description below. And I highly encourage you to reach out because I would love to talk to you. And thinking about my own situation, I could have saved years by not trying to figure everything out on my own. What I learned the hard way is that showing up isn't going to give you much unless you do it in alignment with your long-term goals. So taking a step back to research and evaluate will give you far more in return than distracting yourself with things like posting for the sake of posting. And after turning 30, I no longer felt that I had all the time in the world. I felt stuck, busier than ever, but nothing was going the way I wanted. I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep my job and do this on the side forever. But I found myself in a position where I could choose, because my portfolio had grown enough to allow me to make a bet on myself. So I scrapped the goal of replacing my salary and thought, if I can give this my full attention, I will figure out the rest. And later that year, I was up for a promotion where doing this on the side would start to be illegal. So I had to pick between my career and my business, and I had no idea whether I would be able to afford this risk ever again. So I put in my notice right after that promotion and quit with no idea of what my next step would look like. And my best advice here is to be mindful about whether the business you're building is the business you want. And if you have enough money to go full-time and want to prioritize that, do it. Don't worry about what everyone else thinks, and don't use having to replace your salary first as a measuring stick to prevent you from making the leap unless you really have to. Because if I had replaced my salary with my old business, it would have been much harder to abandon because I would be depending on it. So, by the end of stage 3, I had left my 7-year lawyer career. I had done over 50 collaborations and gotten over 1 million views, but I was stuck. I had invested at least $4,000 in equipment and courses, but on the personal side, I had over $100,000 saved and invested, which was more than 50 months of my personal expenses. The month I left my job, my business made an amazing $300 from a custom travel itinerary for a 10-day trip to Sweden, which once again reminded me of the mismatch between what I wanted and what my audience wanted. And that is how stage 4 started. Stage 4 covers my first year of going full-time up until now. And as soon as I quit my job, I went all in on YouTube long-form and started making food and travel videos there. I got lucky with a video that has now reached 60,000 views, and that did 80% of the work in getting my channel monetized within the first 6 months. But to pivot my old audience, I had to travel, so I went to Japan, which took me straight to my next problem. Because with every meal where I brought out my microphone to turn my channel into the next Mark Wiens or Lost LeBlanc, I slowly realized that I didn't like doing this anymore, and that doing what you love for a living is a great way to fall out of love with it. So if you're thinking about what business to start, I recommend finding something that you enjoy enough to stick with it, but don't ruin your favorite hobbies. And if you want to brainstorm this together, you'll find the link to book a call with me in the description below. Going full-time came with a ton of pressure for me, and that's why I, in other videos, summarize it as the business I enjoyed at 20% became dreadful at 100%. I could no longer see myself building a business that required me to travel on other people's timelines and terms. If I fast-forwarded even 5 years, it wasn't a life I wanted to be living. But I was already on to my next idea. As I'd been trying to get better at content, business, and YouTube, I started spending more time on the educational side of YouTube, where people talked about money, productivity, life design, and business, which I was deeply interested in too. But I hadn't dared to speak about any of this before. I had been worried about what old colleagues would think, and whether the finance niche would look like competing with my old job, which could be a breach of my employment contract. But now, I wanted to try it, so I pivoted my travel channel into personal development. But doing everything on my own as a beginner in that niche forced me to scale back to posting twice a month instead of weekly, despite doing this full time. And after 10 videos with very little traction, I took the biggest break I've ever taken from posting, which was 3 months. After my break, I made 2 choices that changed everything. I spent $3,500 on a YouTube coach who first rejected me because my channel was too scattered. That was a huge wake-up call, and I spent 2 weeks building a strategy using PowerPoint for a brand new channel, pitched that instead, and he eventually agreed to build it with me. And that is the channel you are watching now. At 0 subscribers, I also signed a long-term agreement with an editing team. I pay a couple of $100 a month for this, and it is one of the best moves I have ever made. Even if I haven't made that money back, I get to spend more of my time on the parts of the business that I enjoy, which makes this far more sustainable in the long run. And that is where I am now, 3 months into this channel, but 8 years into this journey. So we got 0 income from the new channel, but about $5,500 in expenses. $1,350 in passive income with the previous business, and $150 in expenses. And on the personal side, there has been a $15,000 increase in my stock portfolio investments without adding new money. But the most important thing of all of this is that I am back to having a process that I enjoy and a business that I can see myself building for the next 10 years. My biggest lesson from these 8 years is that we need to allow ourselves to take a step back to figure out what we want from our single chance at life. Because it's hard to see things clearly when you're running a business on the side of a hectic 9 to 5. Waiting to quit until you have replaced your salary can work out great, but it can also get you stuck in the wrong business or keep you waiting until it's too late. And even if things haven't gone the way I thought, and I wish I could have moved faster with this, I choose to believe that this is for the better. I'm glad I started over because I've found a process that I can stick with again, and I've learned so much on the way. So if you are trying to figure out how to get going with your business, focus on finding a process and workflow that you can see yourself sustaining long term. Don't be afraid to change your mind, and get help before you need it. Create your own version of what enough to go all in looks like. And if you want my help with that, I have created this video where you'll get specific numbers based on where you are in your journey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you there.